Food. You're surrounded by it. More foods and more kinds of foods than ever before in history. Gone is the little corner grocery store with its barrels and bins. In its place is the modern supermarket with its amazing variety of products. Fresh foods, prepared foods, frozen foods, instant foods, fortified foods, diet foods. Vegetable oil? What kind? Peanut? Corn? Soybean? Olive? Safflower? Fats, saturated, unsaturated, or hydrogenated? Sugar, with or without? Salt, with or without? What about vitamins, minerals, proteins, carbohydrates, calories, cholesterol, additives, preservatives, processing? There's no doubt about it. Our reasons for eating the way we do go beyond nutrition and the satisfaction of hunger. Look at this family. What are the factors that influence what they or any family are eating? They may be cultural. Italian food. Mexican dishes. Greek food. Historical. Group pressure and convenience play a part. And of course, there's advertising.
While you were looking after everything else, the one part of the feast everyone's been waiting for was looking after itself. Because you chose the butterball turkey. And even if all you knew was to choose butterball instead of any other turkey, you knew all you really had to know. For cooks who know all about turkeys, and especially for those who don't.
Pepsi's got a lot to give. You've got a lot to live, and Pepsi's got a lot to give.
There are also individual psychological factors. Your relationship can begin in childhood and last the rest of your life.
The thrill of a perfect steak. For those tender moments at the table. Broiled, juicy, tender rib steaks. Such elegant eating.
What we eat can satisfy us both physically and emotionally. But in spite of the pleasures and gratification that food provides, a variety of foods chosen because of taste, tradition, ritual, or group pressure doesn't guarantee the right diet for you. To cut through it all, you need your own food policy, which will dictate what foods are right for you. A food policy may have different objectives, or a mixture of objectives. It may be to provide a working man with the extra food he needs. To get children off to a good start without predisposing them to obesity. It may mean going to a physician or to your school nurse. But once you know the specific needs of yourself and your family, you can formulate a food policy and carry it out. How do you carry it out? A good place to start is with nutrition labels. Specifically, one thing nutrition labels tell you is the relative quantity of ingredients. And ingredients are listed in order of quantity. Look at a breakfast cereal or cookie package. Where is sugar on the list? Is it first, second, or is it there at all? Obviously, foods that have sugar first are more like candy. Now, compare it to your food policy. How much candy do you imagine a good food policy ought to have? For many people, the supermarket looks something like this. Unknown quantities chosen by fad, whim, tradition, or fancy. But with your food policy, you can look at the labels and start to make some sense out of it. Let's say your food policy calls for low salt and that you like soup. You can look at the soup mix, see where salt appears. It will give you a good idea of the relative quantity of salt, and you can taste the difference. Some products are not labeled. Here there are two things you should know. First, for example, peanut butter, hot dogs, have fixed percentages of ingredients required by law. So, although one product may have better quality meat, or peanuts, the minimum percentage of ingredients that are in all is exactly the same. For more information on these percentages, write to the food companies, the Department of Agriculture, or the Food and Drug Administration. Secondly, if your policy dictates staying away from cholesterol and saturated fats, you should know when selecting from unlabeled products that most of our saturated fats come from meat and butter. Cholesterol is high in eggs, meat, butter, and shellfish. Labels can also tell you the composition of vitamins and minerals. This is given as percentages of the minimum daily requirements, MDRs. Some new packages will show these vitamins and minerals as percentages of the recommended daily allowances, RDAs. Finally, labels tell you about composition of major nutrients. Most labels tell you calories per serving. What can labels do for you? 1. Help to minimize confusion in choosing among many alternative foods. 2. Help you enact your food policy efficiently and at the lowest possible cost. 3. Help avoid certain ingredients or nutrients. For example, if you're allergic to certain foods, be sure to read the label. In summary, if you know what you're looking for, you can find the following things on labels. Ingredients, with the highest amount listed first. Nutrients, added vitamins, added minerals, like iron. Flavors, such as salt. Preservatives, and other non-food items added to make it more attractive to the buyer, like coloring. Often there is vitamin and mineral analysis of major nutrients, and calories per serving. There are several things we might remember. First, our diet has changed in the last few generations and continues to change. Second, there are a variety of forces that push and pull you to eat in a way that doesn't necessarily correspond to your own nutritional needs. Finally, you can develop a food policy that will enable you to eat well and enjoy it, but not overeat. Eat selectively so that you're getting the nutrients that are right for you. If you start now, you will be better equipped to deal with your own food policy and effectively use future improvements in nutritional labeling. The key is in knowing what you need and how to find it.
Whoa, and it just ends. Welcome, everybody. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to our lunchtime AV Geeks streaming show, where I show you old 16mm films to delight and horrify you. That last film was about food labeling. I have another one that's about food labeling, which is really good. It's funny. It features a comedian. I need to find that one. I'll probably try to show it at some point. But hope everybody had a good weekend. Yeah, it's time to visit our friends in Alpine, Texas. This is as a reminder, this is a show that came out. That was a little tiny thing that would come on between Saturday morning cartoons on CBS. So here's Friends in Alpine, Texas.
Hi, I'm James Edwards. Let's be friends. I live on a ranch near a small town. I live in the southern part of the United States, in the state of Texas. This is Alpine. The days here are warm and sunny. The nights are cool. Alpine is in southwestern Texas. Alpine lies in a high valley. The Glass Mountains are east, and the Davis Mountains are north. My friends and I like to hike the hills around Alpine. Hey, look at that! Wow! Gosh, stop! These paintings were done by Indians. Apaches and Comanches used to raid in this area. Texas is known for pretty cactus. We have a lot around here. Once in a while, we see wild animals on our hikes. There are three kinds of business important to Alpine. Sul Ross is a small college. It brings students here from all over the world. People on vacation are important to business too. They come to see Big Bend National Park just south of us. And McDonald's Observatory, where folks can watch the stars. Fort Davis is close by too. Soldiers used to fight Indians here. The third important business here is ranching. This is our ranch. It sure is fun living on a ranch.
That was great. What a wonderful twang to his voice. It was nice. Thank you, somebody, for buying me coffee. I can't quite figure out who it was, but thank you. There's a way to support AV Geeks by buying us coffee and giving us much-needed caffeine. So I was trying to thread up a film, or try to rewind the film, and it just went crazy and started spraying film everywhere. So sorry you missed it, but really not. So anyways, one of the things I'm interested in is films that were about American free enterprise system, and ones that were trying to promote the free enterprise system after World War II, and basically roll back some of the New Deal things that they thought were restrictive for businesses, corporations. And this film is made by a tool company, and it's part of a series called In Our Hands. And there's, I can't remember what the first one is, but the second one is How We Got What We Have, and the third one is How We Lose What We Have, which I'll probably show tomorrow. But this is how we got what we have. Here we go.
Let's talk about what we have here in the United States, what makes it tick, and what we want to do with it. Let's start with you and what you want. What does anybody want? Do you think you're different from other people? Millions have worshipped the strong man, the leader. Millions let somebody else decide what they want. They worked, fought, died for government by strong men, by fear, by force.
Und damit unser deutscher Volk und Vaterland.
Yeah, the dictator. No, not everybody agrees. Over here, we don't like dictators. We don't worship the strong man. We worship as we please. Our government represents us, the people. Our government is our servant, not our master. We can work, we can fight too, that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth. That's what Lincoln said. Not that everybody agreed even then. Lincoln was shot, remember? Any government has a lot of power, but keep in mind that the power can come from the top down or from the bottom up. And it makes a lot of difference to you, what you can do and what you can't do, where and how you live and work. Let's start from there, where we live and work, what we have in the United States. 1 worker out of 5 lives close to the land on our 6 million farms and ranches. Look them over, big ones, little ones, all kinds. 4 workers out of 5 work away from the land in almost 4 million other places. Big plants, small plants, peanut stands, offices. Altogether, that makes about 10 million places where we can work and make a living. How we work and how we live makes all the difference in what we have in the United States. But how did we get what we have? Suppose just for a moment that we didn't have our 6 million farms and ranches. Let's get rid of them, all of them. Okay? No more farms or ranches. Now, let's get rid of industry too. Then we won't have to worry about that. Fine, no more industry, no more places to work. While we're at it, Let's go all the way. Let's wipe out all cities, towns, homes, everything. Now what? Well, now we're starting the hard way, close to old Mother Nature. You and everybody else on Earth have some things in common. You want to stay alive. To stay alive, you have to have food. You have to have some shelter against the elements. You want to be as comfortable as you can. So let's start with this common problem and see what it takes.
What are we going to do?
Better find somewhere to go. There's going to be a storm any minute. Give me the baby. Come on.
Well, it's better than nothing, I guess. Oh, take it easy, honey.
It's so cold. Could you build a fire, Tom?
Sure. Gee, I don't seem to have any matches. Don't worry, we'll work out something. Looks like this might blow over. You stay here. I'll go out and see what I can find.
Don't go far, Tom. There, darling. I know you're hungry.
How long do you think she can feed that baby unless she gets some food herself? Not long. How long could you stay alive dumped into a real wilderness? Most people would starve to death. And yet, it's funny, isn't it? It's all there. Sun, air, soil, water, minerals, metals. It's all right there. But how to get at it? Let's say you're lucky to start with. You find some water so you won't die of thirst.
No, but I need food.
Food, shelter, and comfort.
Food, yeah. I'm all right on that other stuff.
You are now. But where are you going to get another shirt when that one wears out?
Well, I don't know. But I'm not going to worry about that now.
When the snow starts to fly, you'll worry about it?
Plenty. I'm going to have a look around.
Tom has what any man has to work with, his brains and his muscles. So he goes to work with what he has. Put yourself in his place. Let's say you're lucky. You find some roots you can eat. You find some berries. A couple of days go by and you're still alive, but it's a full-time job. Let's say you're very lucky. You find some fish just when they're spawning. They're helpless. Now, this probably wouldn't happen to you, but let's make it easy. Let's say you get a couple of fish the way a bear does.
Midge! Look what I got.
Oh,
I just flipped them out.
I'm so hungry I could almost eat them raw.
I don't know. Want to try?
I can't. I can't.
Gee, if we just had a knife. Hey, isn't that smoke?
Oh, Tom.
Sure it's smoke. There must be somebody over there. Wait here, I'll go and see.
Where'd you come from?
I don't know.
Neither do I.
You got a fire. I wanted a fire, but I didn't have any matches. How'd you do it?
It took me long enough to get going. I've been trying to do this ever since I found myself here. I started like this. See? Then I took my shoelace and did it this way.
Gee, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that knife. Where'd you get it?
I found the antler. I made it by rubbing it against the rocks.
Say, how about letting me use it?
Ah, wait a minute. What do you want it for? You got some food?
My wife and baby are just down the valley. We've been living on roots and things, but I got a couple fish.
You have? How big?
Oh, about like that. Nice ones.
Man, I'm so hungry I can hardly stand it. I've been working against time. I got a weak stomach and I figured I can't eat stuff raw. Look, let me buy one of those fish.
What with?
What do you think? Oh, well, I guess I haven't got any money.
What would I do with money around here?
Well, nothing, I guess. Look, let's put it this way. You give me a fish, I'll let you use my knife and cook on my fire. How's that?
Wait a minute. Maybe I'll never find another fish.
Listen, I gotta get something to eat. I'm so hungry, I'm sick, I've been working. Where are they? Back with your wife?
Don't get any ideas.
I offered you a fair swap.
Give me that knife.
I'll give it to you right in the belly.
Stop it! You'll kill each other! What's come over you, Tom? Grown men acting like savage!
Tom's fighting for his life. So is the other man. Let's go back and see what this is all about. If you were thrown into a wilderness without a match or a knife or any tool, you'd be right smack up against nature. You'd be just the same muscles, the same brains, and without tools, you might stay alive for a while. You might find some kind of shelter. You'd have to have food and shelter, and you'd want some comforts. To improve your situation, you'd have to take time out to make some tools. You can't be looking for food and make a knife at the same time. It takes work and time to get fire or any other tool. Incidentally, from now on, when we talk about tools, we mean anything that helps you get more food or shelter or comforts and helps you get them more easily. Getting food or shelter is a matter of life and death. And once you get something, and somebody else has something, you come up against the idea of swapping, of barter.
Why can't we swap? One fish for the use of my knife and my fire.
Well, what's wrong with that?
I'd like to keep both fish. I need that knife and the fire. Okay, it's a deal.
Life depends on food. And to fill your stomach, to put a shirt on your back or some kind of a roof over your head, there are only 3 things to work with: natural resources, your human energy, and tools. That's true anywhere, any place, anytime. Let's bring this out in another way. Everything in nature was here long ago. All the coal, the iron, the forests, the oil, the water, the land. Why didn't the Indians do more with it? The Indians had to have food, shelter, comforts. Why didn't they raise better food, build better homes? Why didn't the Indians do more with all this? They had some tools. They knew how to make fire. They used fire to clear land. When the growth was burnt off, the Indian women planted corn like this, with a clam shell and a hoe made from the shoulder blade of a deer. Yes, they had tools, Stone Age tools, but they never improved their tools. And as a result, they couldn't improve their production of food, shelter, and comforts. Compare this with the pioneer farmers. Crude as the early wooden plows were, they worked better than animal bones or clamshells. Yes, they had tools, but the important thing is they improved their tools. They shod them with iron, and now we make them from steel. Powerful tractors pull them down the fields. If this farmer had lived when the country was young, it would have taken 9 farmers like him to free 1 man from the land. With a better use of brains and muscles, better use of nature, and above all, with more and better tools, The modern farmer can free 15 or 20 men from the land. That's a pretty good example of what we have. Something happened in this country to produce a titanic upsurge in human energy and spirit, to produce more and better tools, to produce more and better food, shelter, and comforts. What was it? What helped us get what we have? Let's start at the beginning. The founders of the country didn't have tractors or television sets or automobiles, but they did have a mighty faith in God and a big revolutionary idea about people. They thought governments ought to be the servant, not the master of ordinary people like you and me. Have you ever read the Declaration of Independence? Men risked their lives for the principle that in this country, at least, we the people take our rights from God and set up a government to preserve and protect our individual rights. Think that over. The signers of the Declaration of Independence declared their belief that we are endowed by our Creator with rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which nobody, no person, no group, no political party, not even our government, can take away from us. This farmer has certain unalienable rights, responsibilities, and obligations, which are his birthright under the law. This worker has the same rights, responsibilities, and obligations, which are his birthright under the law. These workers can challenge their government, which is ordered to protect their rights. And these aren't idle words. On July 4th, 1776, we declared our independence. In 1788, we ratified our Constitution. And to this day, every officer, law, and division of American government has existed solely for the purpose of protecting our unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When you read the Constitution of the United States, notice it starts off with, "We, the people," and it's the oldest instrument of government in continuous use. Our government is divided into two parts, state and federal, and each part is subdivided into legislative, executive, and judiciary, each branch independent, but a limitation on the others. This was not done for efficiency. It was done deliberately to keep anybody or anything from taking away our individual freedom. Now, let's look at the map. The federal government was to handle the national problems. The united but individual states were to handle their own problems, just as each county, city, town, and village was to handle its local problems. Problems like fire protection, police protection, protection of the streets and highways, protection and development of citizenship through public education. Things like this are the concern of state and local government. We, the people, have given our federal, state, and local governments a limited power, but we have ordered them, remember, to use that power to protect our individual freedoms. Our rights are only limited when it's for the public good. Like when you're driving along a public street. Traffic changes. You stop. You don't even think about it. But you stopped because we gave government, represented by the police officer, the right to make a stop to let the other people go through. Then, when you get the signal, it's your turn to go ahead. Limitations of our rights? Sure. But for the public good. And that's the way our country has gone ahead. Just what does liberty or individual freedom mean to you? Freedom to do what? There's New York. Just what freedoms do the people down there have? And what difference does it make? How about San Francisco? Chicago. Is life in Chicago any different from life in Moscow, Shanghai, Paris, or any other city? Is this any different from a town of the same size in some other part of the world? There's a great difference, and it starts with the great gift of freedom. Here's a farm. 2 out of 3 farms like this are run by their owners. In other words, here's what we mean by freedom. Farmers are free to save, free to invest their savings, to buy and own their own farm, their own tools, their own stock, free to produce, to make a profit or a loss. It takes time, takes work, takes management, takes saving, takes careful buying and selling. It took this farmer 20 years to build up this herd, but it was worth the effort. Nobody can fool this man about what it means to own your own farm or to build your own herd. He knows where his tools came from and what a difference they make. He started out milking by hand. Now he does it this way and doesn't have to work so hard. And he produces more and better milk and cream. He gets more out of it, and so do all the rest of us. Don't sell freedom short. Freedom to work, to grow things, to make things. Freedom to buy and sell. Freedom to save and invest. We have these great freedoms in this country. You have them. In the United States today, as you may know, we live on about 1/16 of the land area of the world. For every square mile we have, others have 15. For every worker we have, others have about 15. As far as nature and manpower go, the odds against us are about 15 to 1. Let's get this straight. All around the world, men want the same things: food, shelter, and comforts. And naturally, selfishly, want all they can get. You do. I do. Everybody has this in common. All of us must use what we can find in nature, our own manpower, and the tremendously productive power of tools. Yet in our 10 million workplaces, with odds of 15 to 1 against us, we have half the productive power on Earth. That didn't just happen. There's a good reason why we have the best workers, the best tools on Earth. Why we're about 8 to 1 better off than the rest of the whole world. How do you think this came to be? What makes us tick? Let's talk about how we got what we have in these United States and what it means to you.
Tools. It's all about tools, because this is sponsored by a company that made tools. Yeah, this has got some push buttons in it. The assassination of Lincoln and because of his beliefs, the Indian Native American bashing. It's like, well, what did they do? They just had, shells, and they didn't do anything because they didn't have tools. They didn't improve their tools. Maybe they didn't want to. Maybe they were living an idyllic life and didn't have this desire to exploit. And I don't know. Anyways, I did like the little thing about you have your personal freedom, and the police officer tells you to stop. Is that encroaching on your personal freedom? Well, maybe a little bit. Really fascinating film. Tomorrow I will show you how to lose what we have, which is the exciting conclusion of this series. Or no, wait. I think there's one that's called How to Keep What We Have. Okay, I'll see if I can hunt that one down too. Fascinating film for many, many reasons. And it's all about tools. The guy was like, I want to keep my fish. Although I can't do anything with them. I can't eat them. I can't cut them up because my wife won't have raw fish. But I want to keep them. All right. So this next film is Who's in Charge Here? And it's by the American Cancer Society. And we can learn about Roman numerals if you look at the copyright, American Cancer Society Incorporated, and then it's Roman numerals MCMLXXIX. So M is 1,000, C is 100. So it's, and when you put a lesser value in front of a higher value, then you subtract it. So it's M 1,000, then CM is 900, then L is 50, and XX is each X is 10, so that's 20, and then you see I, which is 1, so and then a final X, so that's 1979. Now, why did they use Roman numerals? I've asked this of many archivists, especially ones who research copyright, and one of the reasons they felt was that this was a way to obfuscate, to have a valid copyright notice, but to not let people know the year that the film was made. Because if you looked at it and you're like, well, this was made in 1974, and this information's not valid. So they would use Roman numerals as a way to officially list it, but they knew that most people didn't know what Roman numerals meant, so they would just kind of gloss over it. So that's one of the best reasons that I've heard. So here we go. This is who's in charge here.
The machines you see here, clicking, ticking, and beeping away, are testing machines. They're the development of several techniques which can clearly show every one of you watching this film the immediate effect of one cigarette. This is a special report to Young America. We're in the science lab of Glen Rock High School, and we're witnessing something that may be unfamiliar to you, but something so important that the information it gives you could change your whole life. Certainly, it can extend your life. These machines are designed to test the students' various responses, from temperature and pulse rates to the amount of carbon monoxide in their lungs, body responses that change from the very first puff of a cigarette. Students are tested before and after smoking just one cigarette so that they can see for themselves exactly what cigarettes are doing to them now, not 30 or 40 years from now. This carboxymeter showed that Sue, a non-smoker, has about 1% carbon monoxide in her red blood cells, which is about a normal level. Jim, on the other hand, who smokes about a pack and a half a day, has 7%. When you inhale tobacco smoke, you are replacing oxygen with carbon monoxide. Since the body needs that oxygen, the heart has to pump more often, which puts additional stress upon it. So any way you look at it, Jim and the thousands of young men and women who smoke cigarettes are poisoning themselves with carbon monoxide. You could even say they're polluting themselves. But how do people start smoking, and when, and why? Let's talk to some young people involved in typical smoking situations. Why do you smoke?
I don't smoke. Almost everyone I know smokes cigarettes. And you know what? I'm always afraid of being put down because I don't smoke.
She's exaggerating. No one's putting you down. I've smoked. I've been smoking ever since I was 13 years old. All the guys and girls I hang around with, they smoke.
Smoking relaxes me. And, I don't believe any of that stuff your surveys say about smoking anyway.
Let's face it, most people smoke. Although a lot of young people have experimented with smoking cigarettes, actually 3 out of 4 have decided not to smoke cigarettes. Despite all those so-called glamour scenes on television and in the movies, smokers are in a minority among adults as well. So everybody smokes is a myth. There are other myths too, and they're dangerous.
You know what I've heard? That polluted air is just as big a cause of lung cancer as smoking is.
I'm not about to start worrying about diseases that might happen when I'm 40. Who knows if there'll even be a world?
Personally, I think all that stuff about cigarettes and smoking is highly exaggerated.
I smoke, but I can quit any time I want to. I know I can.
Myths and more myths, like that myth about polluted air. There's no proof that general air pollution has increased the rate of lung cancer. In fact, it's been shown that even in the worst highway conditions, a non-smoker's lungs contain no more than 2% of carbon monoxide, compared to approximately 5% of carbon monoxide in our lungs after only one cigarette. The truth of the matter is, if medical researchers had their way, every cigarette pack could read, "Warning, the Surgeon General has determined that cigarette smoking is lethal." The truth is, cigarette smoking is the leading cause of lung cancer. The truth is, heavy smoking, on the average, will cut years off your life. Disturbing as the myths about smoking are, even more disturbing is this fact, that there's a definite upswing in smoking among teenage girls. In just the past few years, there's been a 5% increase in smoking among teenage girls. Now, 5% may not sound like much, but do you know what it really means? It means that there are 500,000 more teenage girls who are now smoking. But the big question is why? We're talking to Debbie Brown, a senior here at Glen Rock High School. How's school, Debbie? And what do you do for extracurricular activity?
Well, school's the way it's always been, full of ups and downs. Only because it's my senior year, everything is more important somehow, and more exciting. As for extracurricular activities, I'm the editor of the yearbook and on the prom committee, and that's all I have time for.
Is that why you're smoking? Because it's a kind of anxious time?
Well, no. I started smoking because Rob, the boy I go out with, smokes. I just fell into it without realizing what was happening.
Are you trying to prove anything by smoking?
Well, to be honest about it, smoking makes me feel more sophisticated, I guess. And it does give me something to do with my hands. Now that I smoke more, I bite my fingernails less.
Did you ever try to stop?
Oh, I did, but couldn't seem to. Any more than my mother can. She smokes 2 packs a day. But maybe sometime I'll quit. Who knows?
Debbie, a smart young woman who thinks she's in control of her life, is actually the victim of several myths. That once you start, you can't kick the habit. That somehow cigarette smoking makes you sophisticated. And what's more, she has let cigarettes take control of her. We've heard more than one person interviewed say they smoke because it relaxes them. Well, let's show you a tremor test to disprove this myth once and for all. Here's the test. It most acutely registers the effects of smoking, a single cigarette, on your nervous system. Students here were asked to insert a probe into this small hole and to hold it there for 30 seconds, touching the sides as infrequently as possible. It took considerable concentration and control to hold the probe steady before smoking, but afterward, the result was obvious to everyone. That really explodes the myth that smoking relaxes you, because just the opposite is true, as you can see. How did you do?
Well, that probe test for stress really made me nervous. And when I'm nervous, I usually have a cigarette. I thought it calmed me down, but I guess it doesn't. Maybe I'll just skip the cigarette.
I'm surprised. I didn't think I would jump up that much after a cigarette.
There are always some tense and anxious moments in our lives, but having a cigarette certainly doesn't help. Instead, it creates yet another stress situation in our lives. It's a crutch that makes you dependent. Now let's meet with Bill Hennessy, a classmate of Debbie's. He used to be a big-time smoker, and he kicked the habit. Hi, Bill. What's the IQ for? Are you a genius?
Oh, no, it stands for a different kind of smart. It stands for I quit. Get it? I quit smoking. From a pack a day to 0.
Well, some of the students we've been talking to say you can't quit.
Oh, I don't buy that. You see, the minute you decide that you're in charge of yourself, that you're responsible for what you do, you can change. I think it's easier if you get to know who you really are as a person.
What do you mean, who you really are? That sounds kind of heavy.
Well, maybe it is. But I mean, if you feel okay about yourself, then you don't have to follow the leader or what the others do if you don't want to. You can still do your own thing and belong. Oh, your friends might kid you a little bit, but if they're real friends, you can still be your own man or woman and still belong.
Why did you quit smoking, Bill?
Well, I read a lot about the health hazards and the bad effects of smoking, and I thought, why am I really smoking? The answer was because all my friends were. That wasn't a good enough answer. Also, I'm a runner, and my wind was getting bad, so I quit cold. Yeah, it sure made a big difference not smoking. My wind was better. I could taste things better, smell things better. And I smelled better. I also had a lot more bread for other things. I just fell into smoking, really. Didn't really make a decision to smoke, but I sure did make a decision to stop.
You look pretty fit. Did you put on any weight after you quit?
No, I'm lucky. As a matter of fact, I lost a few pounds. Maybe because I felt like doing more. But one thing's certain, I feel a lot better. A lot better about myself as well. Maybe because I was able to quit. It means I have more control over myself. I'm my own man.
Bill Hennessy speaks the truth. The fact is, you can quit. Of course, it makes it easier if you don't smoke in the first place. Probably the most convincing argument for quitting smoking, or not starting, comes from the medical profession. We took our cameras to St. Vincent's Hospital to speak to Dr. Thomas Nealon, Jr. Dr. Nealon, many teenagers accuse us of overreacting to statistics.
These statistics are overwhelming and indisputable. The risk of developing lung cancer is directly related to the total number of cigarettes smoked. I myself have seen thousands of patients with lung cancer, and the number of these who've never smoked is very, very small. Probably the most dangerous thing about smoking, particularly among young people, is the perception that it takes a long time for the damage to develop. Actually, the damage begins with the first puff. Let's take a look at this film and see what happens internally while you smoke.
In normal, healthy lungs, the air we breathe travels down an elaborate network of bronchial tubes and tiny air sacs called alveoli. The air passages are lined with countless hair-like cilia, which help sweep small particles of dirt, dust, and mucus out of the lungs. Repeated inhalation of cigarette smoke damages these cilia, and they may be destroyed. This prevents the lungs from cleaning themselves naturally. Inhalation of tobacco smoke causes cell changes that can lead to abnormal cell growth called lung cancer. Once started, the cancer can spread quickly throughout the lungs and the rest of the body. The chances of lung cancer developing in cigarette smokers is about 10 times greater than in non-smokers. Cigarettes are also related to coronary artery disease. They help bring about a narrowing and plugging of the vessels that supply blood to the heart muscles. When the artery is blocked, the heart muscles can't function. This is a heart attack, America's most common cause of death. So you can see that smoking can injure and kill, not necessarily in a sudden or dramatic way, but slowly, almost unnoticeably, over a long period of time.
That's the sad part of it. Most often, by the time the lung cancer patient comes to see us, the damage is done. Less than 10% will be alive 5 years later.
Slow motion suicide. That's what the Secretary of HEW calls smoking, yet millions of Americans keep on smoking. Old Americans, middle-aged Americans, and saddest of all, young Americans. I'm talking to Dr. Wendy Logan, who has something important to tell us. Dr. Logan, what are the effects of smoking on pregnancy?
Well, there's a growing concern about the effects of smoking on pregnancy. Pregnant women who are smoking tend to have babies that weigh less than babies of non-smoking mothers. They also tend to be premature, and the babies of smoking mothers tend to have a higher death rate, both when they're born and in the first few months of their lives. A woman who smokes while she's pregnant not only endangers herself, but the life of her unborn child.
One more small and important test about the effects of smoking on your blood vessels and heart. This is a test which measures heat on the surface of your body. It's called thermography. Notice the various warm colors in the hand, indicating normal skin temperature. Within a 10-minute period after smoking, the nicotine has constricted the blood vessels, causing the temperature to drop and the blood pressure to rise. This puts more strain on the heart. You are actually seeing the process happen. The reds are disappearing. Parts of the fingers have disappeared where the temperature has dropped most. When you add this reaction to the lowered oxygen level in your blood, you can see how dangerous smoking really is. What do you think about smoking now?
I've just made a decision. I'm not going to smoke at all.
What does all this tell you about smoking?
That it's really not good for you.
Maybe there really is some hope for the future, your future. Because when you watch these tests, which show so clearly what one cigarette does to your body chemistry, you can't help but agree with the secretary of HEW that smoking is truly slow-motion suicide. And the easiest way to avoid it is to make the choice not to start in the first place.
Wow. So many teenagers smoking in that movie. Of all the anti-smoking films I have, that one just has so many. It's crazy. Because usually it focuses in on like one or two. But, you know, you've got everybody in that room smoking. Which I just think adds to the mystique and the wanting to belong aspect of smoking. Very much so. Wow. We have blown through today. I didn't realize. But I wanted to go ahead and show you some movie trailers. I'm working on a whole new batch, which hopefully I'll have something by later this week of some stuff, which is exciting. But thanks everybody for tuning in. And thanks for buying coffee. And if you like what you saw, please subscribe. Or like, or follow, or, I don't know, it's like a bell sometimes, or who knows. Anyways, here's some TV trailers. Enjoy.
Are you my girl? Let me see, who are you?
I'm Gaga.
You are?
In June 1967, the United States Department of Justice abducted this man's children. If the government took away your kids, how do you suppose you'd feel? MGM presents James Caan in Hide in Plain Sight, based on a true story, rated PG.
Where are my kids?
Take it easy, Mr. Hackman. It's Hacklin. Tom Hacklin's children have been stolen. Somewhere between the lawmakers, the lawbreakers, and the law enforcers.
Tom, they know every move you make. You hear cops know, the mob knows.
Tom Hacklin must find his answers before he can find his kids. James Caan in Hide in Plain Sight, rated PG.
My name is Hacklin, Thomas Hacklin, Jr. On a Saturday in June 1967, I went to my ex-wife's house to pick up the kids. When I got there, the kids were gone, taken by agents of the United States Justice Department. Why were they taken? Why are they watching me? Why won't anybody help? If it was your kids, how do you suppose you'd feel?
James Caan in Hide in Plain Sight, rated PG. The United States government took away this man's children.
Where are my kids?
The police won't help him. The Justice Department is lying to him.
Look, I got 2 kids missing, and nobody wants to talk to me.
And the courts don't seem to care.
Do you realize what they could do to you?
Now he's going after them on his own. James Caan in Hide in Plain Sight, rated PG. Phantasm. If this one doesn't scare you, you're already dead. Phantasm, rated R. Phantasm. Is it a nightmare? Whatever it is, if this one doesn't scare you, you're already dead. Phantasm. Rated R.
It is the greatest mystery of all, because no human being will ever solve it. It is the highest suspense, because no man can bear it. It is the greatest fear, because it is the ancient fear of the unknown. It is a warning, foretold for thousands of years. It is The Omen. Gregory Peck, Lee Remick. The Omen, rated R.
Charlie and the Hooker. What happens when a love affair becomes twisted, shameful, and unnatural, and you can't stop? Charlie and the Hooker. Too revealing to ever be on television.
Burt Reynolds calls himself Bandit 1.
Now put the pedal to the metal. I'm 10-10 on the side.
Jerry Reed calls himself Bandit 2.
We're gonna really have to cook.
And Jackie Gleason as Sheriff Buford T. Justice calls them a whole lot worse.
I gotta barbecue your...
Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, Jerry Reed, and Jackie Gleason in Smokey and the Bandit. Rated PG, and that's a Big 10-4, good buddy. This is Smokey and the Bandit, the story about a lazy weekend in Alabama, Texas, Mississippi, Arkansas, Georgia. Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, Jerry Reed, and Jackie Gleason as Sheriff Buford T. Justice in Smokey and the Bandit. Rated PG. What we have here is a complete lack of respect for the law. Jackie Gleason is Sheriff Buford T. Justice, and he's looking for Burt Reynolds, Jerry Reed, and 400 cases of bootleg beer.
I gotta barbecue your...
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
See Burt Reynolds, Sally Field, Jerry Reed, and Jackie Gleason in Smokey and the Bandit, rated PG.
Great stuff there. That one film, Charlie and the Hooker. There's a couple of ones in this reel that are those weird kind of like forbidden love types of things that are probably European and then dubbed and then released in American markets. Too scandalous for television. But Phantasm. I watch that once a year. It's such a great movie. It gets better every time I watch it. So thanks everybody for tuning in today. Join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and we'll watch some more films. And everybody have a good rest of the day. If you like what you saw, hit like, buy me coffee, go to AV Geeks to see other things that we've done. And we will see you soon. Yeah, as always, please rewind and love each other. Especially nowadays. Now more than ever, it's important to rewind. We're getting to the point where there's no... Well, okay, so... I guess you can rewind a streaming media thing. So you can still rewind. So yes, please rewind. And also please love each other. Now more than ever. All right, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.